I cleaned up the shoes, and you can see that they've got a chamfer on the leading edge here, and this is to try and stop the shoes grabbing, and I'm going to increase that chamfer. So I've got one in the vise here, and I'm working off this end as like a rest. I'm filing this way. Now these are modern shoes, so they're non-asbestos. Even the asbestos shoes are not quite as dangerous as you might think. The danger with asbestos is unbound fibres. When they're in a matrix, and brake shoes are a resin matrix, it's not really any more dangerous than any other dust. You know, motor mechanics don't really have a higher incidence of lung cancer than any other group. The danger and the reason that they were banned was the manufacturing process was hazardous. You're still producing dust, so you still don't want to be breathing it in. I'm using the mill cut file, partly because this is a soft material, and partly because it's not creating dust as such, it's creating little particles. So I'm just taking this back a little, just catching the rear here, and I'm looking to keep the line across the shoe straight, indicating that I'm cutting it evenly. And I'm kind of let me just get rid of this dust. So I've just extended the line. Sorry, I've just extended the chamfer back a little compared to the other shoe. Of course, you can see there's an inconsistency here between the position of the friction material on the two shoes, which isn't ideal. They've got a dust relief groove, and I'm going to put a little chamfer on the leading edge of the second sections too. Let's just clean up this chamfer. I'm just varying the pressure whilst watching the line to get that line as straight as possible. Okay, that's all I'm going to do to those. Just a little bit of a chamfer on that secondary edge. And now we'll get them reassembled onto the back plate. Okay, this has been pretty thoroughly cleaned. There's a spiral groove in these bushes for lubrication, but there's no actual sort of grease nipple point. I have seen that on some Italian bikes. They do have a port. So I'm just going to pack these with a little grease. Now I quite often find these have got copper slip anti-seize grease in, and that's not really the right grease. This is not a high temperature application, and it's not really an anti-seize application, it's a lubrication. So I'm just using ordinary high melting point grease and get the grooves packed with it. And I don't want too much excess in here. You know, we don't want the grease contaminating the shoes. Okay, so the groove's pretty well packed, and also the pivot pins. Just do the smear. It's just an ordinary general purpose high melting point lithium grease. Give my I've got a clean room glove on over the MaxiFlex here, just so that I can easily wipe any grease off that one. But I'm pretty happy. So I'm going to assemble the shoes. And this is dead simple. It's just a case of hooking the springs in. Keeping them hooked in whilst we do 2 sets. There we go. So that was our top shoe and bottom shoe. So there's the cam for the bottom shoe and the cam for the top shoe, and I'm keeping it all in its original orientation because these have already run into the drum as much as possible. So on the back plate, there's our torque stay, which is the top. So that's our top operating cam. And I'm just going to put a little bit of grease on the face of the cam. Okay. So this is the slightly tricky bit, is getting everything together and staying there. Getting the cams lined up with their bores. And then get a screwdriver in here just to lever it over onto the pin. Like so. These are pretty strong springs. That's it. And we're down. So I just need to put the circlets back on. And make sure they're properly seated in the groove. And then I'm going to just clean up the excess grease. And give the splines a good coat. That is more of an anti-seize kind of thing. And just give that a wipe and remove the excess. And we can put the operating arms back in position. And I marked the position of the slot. That's pretty much done for now. I'll want to check the adjustment of the because it'd be helpful if the clevis pin was put in from the right side. I'll end up having to take things apart again. That can stay on the bench for now. You know, that's working nice and free. And he's all ready to go back onto the bike when the forks get reassembled.